Yo ho ho! Look, it's me, Uncle Ricky, and we're gonna talk about hypocrisy. Recently, there was a congressional ceremony for a medal award ceremony, and the ceremony was totally overdue for the officers that exhibited exemplary bravery and professionalism during the January 6th, 2020 insurrectionist riots on the Capitol when MAGA, whipped up by the lies of the former 45th President of the United States about how the election was stolen from him, decided that it was time to take over America because America was no longer about being American. Well, during the ceremony, after the ceremony, there was a receiving line with, leaders from both political parties standing in line to shake the hands of the recipients and the family members of the not the family members, but the recipients. And one officer, you might remember the name, Officer Brian Sisnick, was awarded posthumously because he died the day after the riots due to a stroke. Now, when his mother and his brothers passed down the receiving line, they shook the hands of Chuck Schumer, they shook the hands of Nancy Pelosi. When they got to Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, none of them, nothing with the name Sisnick, shook either hand. They proceeded to the end of the line and exited to whatever reception they had after the ceremony, or wherever they were supposed to go after the ceremony. Now, some people say, well, that was pretty petty of them, because McConnell and McCarthy are the, quote unquote leaders of the Republican Party. It wasn't petty. Of course, they probably got reason to be petty, but it was just another indication to the Republican Party that we, the people, we know you for what you are. You are a bunch of hypocrites, and all you are concerned about is power for yourselves. You don't give a shit. The shit that you push us is just so that you can mind fuck us into keeping you in office. Now, you have to understand that Officer Sisnick wasn't a Democrat. Officer Sisnick wasn't a woke liberal. It's going to be hard to find a woke liberal on the Capitol Police Force anyway. Sisnick was a Republican. Sisnick voted Republican because the Republicans had always represented themselves as the Patriot Party, the Law and Order Party, Back the Blue Party. And on January the 6th, this man found out that everything that he believed in was a lie because he was basically fighting for his life against the people, the very same political compatriots that he believed were right over the left-wing Democrats. But these same people were willing to kill him in order to overturn the government that he had sworn to protect and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We don't know, what went through his mind during and after it. It perhaps may even have contributed to his stroke. A couple of officers committed suicide. We don't know what went through their minds. I haven't bothered to check about if there's any indication of how they voted before they died, what party they supported. But the hypocrisy of the situation can't be denied. Sisnick's mother came out and said how she felt about not shaking McCarthy's hand, not shaking fucking McConnell's hand, because they were the leaders of a party of liars. Hypocrisy, usually it's, connected with, religious connotations. In other words, saying you believe in God, but going out and violating every rule of God, or you are a member of this church, that church, and going out violating every rule of the church. Well, let's just drop this real quick before we move on. When it comes to the relationship between God and human beings, I think God kind of expects human beings to fuck up every now and then. When it comes to that religious dogma, that church doctrine, if you violate the rules of the church, if you violate the sanctity of the church, usually that congregation, that church, that religion will excommunicate you, push you out, and tell you you can't be a part of the community. But see, where the hypocrisy comes in, the very same people that are vilifying you, pushing you out, are doing the same thing. They just ain't been caught yet. Pastors preach against pedophilia and get caught for what? Molesting children. Pastors talk about don't be a thief, don't be a liar. What happens? Pastors get caught all the time for stealing money, fraud, embezzlement. Hypocrisy is a human trait. It is not one of the desired traits, but because we are human, we all have the ability to be hypocrites. And at one time or another, all of us have been hypocrites in one way or another. Whether it's about our beliefs about ourselves or about our beliefs about our neighbors, we all have the potential to be hypocrites, because one minute we say one thing, and when the situation changes, when the conditions changes, and we see that what we said isn't to our advantage, we say something else, or we go out and say one thing pointing at other people's faults and weaknesses, when we know that secretly in our lives, we're fucking wrapped up in the same faults and weaknesses. But because we stand on our pedestal and shout from our soapbox, it gives us the mental image that we are better than those that we point our fingers at. Hypocrisy. Now, this thing with the Sisnicks and McConnell and Mitchell, it's not only the Sisnicks, it's the entire fucking country. This midterm election should have proven to the Republican Party that we are tired of your bullshit. We are tired of you vilifying people. We are tired of you degrading people in the name of conservatism, in the name of being a republicanism, in the name of setting a priority, setting a caste system where only a certain group of people deserve to be in power, where only a certain group of people deserve to run shit, and that same group of people doesn't have a fucking idea how or a plan to accomplish this. All they have a plan of is continuing to be hypocrites, pointing fingers when they're doing the same shit that they're accusing other people of. Hypocrisy. Prime example, the former president of the United States, Donald John Trump. Somehow, no matter what happens, he is the fucking victim. When he uses his money, well, he doesn't really have any fucking money. That's one of the, points of hypocrisy that the United States, the population, the people, even the ones that fucking voted for him, have found out the motherfucker is a lying hypocrite. A lot of us knew that when, he came down that golden escalator with Melania on his side. Just think about it. We don't even see him and Melania together for much, except for like when he came down and gave that boring speech talking about he's going to run for president in 2024. The hypocrisy of the Trump administration was glaring. The people that supported Trump, the evangelical right, their hypocrisy was, pardon the pun, biblical in proportions. Talking about we need to get away from being a left-wing socialist communist country and get down to morals and principles as explained by the quote-unquote Christian Bible. So, in other words, you're saying that only Christianity can save this country. And Donald Trump said the same fucking thing, that only him, Trump, John Trump, could save the country. Only he had a solution for all of America's evils. And to prove his point, he used hypocrisy. He pointed his fingers, he fucking vilified, he agitated, he debased, he demeaned everything that he knew that was against him, including his fellow hypocritical Republicans. Anytime you spoke out against Trump, it was like you were speaking out against God. And basically because Trump thought he was a God, and through his hypocrisy, he convinced a lot of people that he was God. Some of these motherfuckers still think he is God. Why do you think his followers call him Orange Jesus? Hypocrisy. Thou shalt. You such Christians, you such Bible readers, you such fundamental fucking believers. The Bible clearly says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. But then again, if you never read the Bible and just listen to every jackleg preacher that has a fucking circus tent, you get sucked up by the fucking hypocrisy. The best example was the Georgia Senate race. Fucking Herschel Walker was a textbook example of a hypocrite. But do you think the Republicans learned a lesson? No, they're just going to double down and do the same dumb shit and basically lose whatever sane following that they ever had because of their determination to be hypocrites to the end. Well, that's it from me, Uncle Ricky from Uncle Ricky's house. Peace out and God bless. And as always, enjoy the fucking moment. It might be your last.